A lot of us spend so much time doing the work and focusing on our businesses and working on improving ourselves that we don't take the time to sit back, reflect, and really focus on the things that we need to focus on, or talk about the things we need to talk about, or sit back and plan the things that we need to plan. Austin and I just finished a wonderful damn near 3.5 hour session that was completely unexpected, where we worked through a variety of kinks that we have in the supply chain, as well as planning the future of another business that is in our repertoire. So we sat here and effectively planned out the next rollout for this business, from the product development all the way to the shelf. And as you can imagine, this is something that was supposed to start in May. It's June. Or was it supposed to start in March or April? Yeah. Yes, exactly. So we would have started it had we sat down and talked, but it took us this long to sit down and talk. So on this podcast, I'd like to discuss why it's important to sit down and plan and to talk and to evaluate things before we execute them. How do we slow down and make sober and proper and well thought out decisions?
Well, for starters, I believe it starts with that first word that you said, sober. All right? A lot of y'all maybe think that you need weed, alcohol, some other drugs to stimulate you to be able to get into that creative mind state. Okay, for some that may work, whatever. However, I do think that you really need to be sober-minded when you're going into these conversations, so that you're not missing certain aspects of the supply chain, of the manufacturing, of the pricing, of taxes, all these things along the way that can affect your product and affect your business tremendously if you do not sit down and really talk about it and really discuss it. So being sober-minded is something that you really have to do in order to have effective conversations about this stuff. Because as I just mentioned, there's so many potholes and there's so many fucking speed bumps along the way that you really have to take into account, or your entire plan could be altered and go to shit. Because of course you might talk about something in passing and it might sound like a good idea in passing, but there's been a ton of times where when we have the opportunity and time to sit down, we started to talk and we're like, oh shit, I totally fucking forgot about import tax, or I totally fucking forgot about the license that we're going to need. We're not only going to need just one, we're going to need fucking 50 of them, right? So having these conversations, sitting down, being sober-minded is something that you have to do to really have a useful and productive thinking session. And taking time to have these thinking sessions is something that you have to make time for, whether you want to or not. Just like what I say about women, right? And this applies to both men and women, but everybody makes time for what they care about. If you care about something, you'll make time for it. If somebody that you're talking to is like, man, I'm just so busy, blah, 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 blah. Or you might not even be in a relationship. You're just courting each other at this point. Like, you might say, hey, are you busy on this day or whatnot? And then they're like, oh, I'm pretty busy. And they don't offer you a time frame for when they can get back to you. They don't really care that much. Because if you wanted to see a person, you do it. If you wanted to start a business, you do it. If you wanted to plan and come up with a business plan and come up with all the logistics of how you're going to carry out this thing, you do it. And this is something that you have to make time for, just like you'd make time for a girl, just like you make time for video games, just like you make time for watching that show. You have to make time for this. And whenever you make time for something and you set it up, whether it goes the way that you think so or not, you get something out of it more often than not. You get something where you feel fulfilled after, or something where you feel, hey, that didn't go how I planned it to go. And now I know that this person, this thing, this product is not for me. So you either learn what to do or learn what not to do. As long as you take the time and set it aside to get the shit done and discuss it. So once you do that, you'll be able to effectively determine if this thing is for you, if this thing is not for you. And if you're able to figure that out quicker, that means that you're able to pivot or continue or press the gas or put on the brakes a lot quicker. And when you're able to do that, that turns you being rich at 50 potentially into you being rich at 35. And that's the whole thing about failing fast. People like to say fail fast. And I know it kind of sounds kind of awkward, but yes, fail fast. Figure out what goes fucking wrong. Figure out what goes fucking right in a process. That way, the faster you fucking do it, the faster you get past these fucking roadblocks that most people take a year, 2 years, 5 years to bypass. You did it in a couple months because you said, fuck it. I'm going to sit down, have these conversations, have these powwows, think about what needs to get done, think about what can fucking inhibit our process and our production, and go ahead and start the process.
Now, we talked about this before, way back on the AM Club podcast, and it was probably something like downshift to speed up. In a manual transmission vehicle, or in any vehicle for that matter, you need to switch to a lower gear to take off. And the reason for that is you need to gain that velocity within the engine. You need to increase the rate at which the end or the rotor itself is rotating. And so that's what you have to do in your life. A lot of people think that when you slow down, you're actually inhibiting or preventing your progress. They think that when you slow down, they associate it with you've stopped. You've given up. You're not going anywhere. But if you strategically use the tempo and the pacing so that when you slow down, you're slowing down in order to gather yourself, get all your components, communicate with your network, establish a plan, and approach things strategically, then you're actually setting yourself up for success because you're not slowing down to stop. You're slowing down to literally gun it. You're going to go way faster, and you're going to click into a higher gear, which is the whole reason of why you need to take the time to evaluate what you're doing. Because, and it's interesting, people don't understand themselves. So how can they understand their actions? How can you understand what motivates you when you don't know who you are? It's not possible. So if you take it a step further, how can you analyze your actions if you don't know why you do what you do? So you can't start optimizing anything until you reach the core and the most raw and naked thing that there is, which is, what are you doing and why? A lot of times, and we're guilty of this, we all are. We were meeting with our mentor last week, one of our mentors, and she was like, why are y'all doing this? Why are you traveling to these cities? Why are you focusing on other states and other locations when you should be taking care of business in your home base and capitalizing here? You're going on a wild goose chase to accomplish nothing. There is some rhyme and reason for what you're doing. There almost always is some way to justify your actions when it comes to a business. However, is it the best action that you can take? Does it have the greatest ROI? Is it really worth all of the effort that you're putting into something when it's potentially a tangent? But you wouldn't know because you haven't taken the time to evaluate the reasons why it is or why it isn't. And a lot of times it's not because you're lazy, it's because you're so excited and things are happening so fast. So you get the feeling that you're doing something, because you're moving so fast, you're moving, product numbers are going and this and that, but you're actually flying blind, and you're just drowning yourself in the actual action and the movement and the moment. It's like infatuation with the romance of business. It's not actually love, nor is it actually success. It's just sheer bloody infatuation and greed.
Now, I like to think about all the times that I produced or that I had $1 million or $1 billion idea. I think, honestly, most people have had $1 million or $1 billion ideas, but what do you do with them? Nothing. Nothing. So when you tend, or when you have the ability to do nothing with your $1 million, $1 billion idea, you know what happens? Someone else has that same idea as you, because, believe it or not, we're not as not alike than what you think. We're pretty similar when it comes to the thoughts, the things that we conjure up. But the main thing that transforms someone like the owner and founder of NVIDIA, I forgot his name, but I can look it up here, into someone who was a busboy at Denny's, into someone who has a $1 trillion company. What's his name?
Jensen Huang.
Jensen Huang. What changes someone from a busboy at Denny's to Jensen Huang is saying, hey, I'm not going to sit here and just keep these thoughts in my head. I'm going to talk about them. And every idea that we had, even this podcast, originated because we weren't scared, we weren't afraid, we weren't timid in saying, hey, I have an idea, let's talk about it. Now, I think it's also important to surround yourself with very good people and very open people who won't just shit on things just to shit on things. Even if they do, at least it's in a constructive manner. But just people who are just unwilling to grow and unwilling to kind of nurture an idea to see where it goes. I don't think those people are good for you. You have to have the right people around you, because your network is your net worth. But having someone like that around you who's positive, that is willing to hear your ideas and do something about it, can transform that idea into money and into a lot of it. So when you have these thoughts, when you have these ideas, if you have a homeboy, if you have a homegirl, oh shit, even if you have yourself, stop just writing it down or stop just fucking doing nothing about it. Actually take action. If you have a problem of trying to figure out how to register your LLC, search how to register your LLC and get the fuck to work. Start the process in doing so. It might cost you money, but fucking do it. Because a lot of people get to the point to where they have this idea and they think about how difficult it is, or someone tells them how difficult it's going to be to get to A, or to get from A to Z, and they just don't even do it. But those who accept the challenge and say, hey, I'm going to do this regardless, to me, that's half the battle. Because most people quit before they even put pen to paper. They quit before that idea is even big enough or good enough to them to leave their mind. So if most people are quitting before they even walk out their door, before they even write that business idea down, before they even tell their friend, then you are way ahead of the game if you decide to even fucking research, if you decide to even ask a person, hey, how do I get this license? Ask a person, hey, how do I fucking fill this out? And fill it out and submit it. Now, of course, there's a lot of hard work that's in between, doing those things, but most people aren't doing that. Most people don't want to do that. They think it's too fucking difficult. And I'm telling you right now, if Jose and I can do it, of course, I'm not just saying that, we're just running the mill here. But if we can do it, you can do it. Because it's not like we're just the fucking smartest people on planet Earth. It's the fact that we're some of the most hardworking people. And that's something that you can learn. Today, tomorrow, at fucking 80, you can learn to work hard. And if you have that skill, if you have that discipline, you can get the shit that you need to get done. And the shit that you need to get done all starts with the conversation. Whether it's at Denny's, like Jensen Huang, whether it's at a fucking cafe like we went to, whether it's at your house with your homeboys, with your homegirls, just talking. You can start anywhere. That's the great thing about starting. There's no set start place, set start time. This isn't a set race that, you run at the Olympics. No. In the race of life, you can start whenever the fuck you want to start to becoming the best you. It's all up to you and how you choose to handle it. And for us, again, that was a cafe. That's where we started. And a year plus later, now we have a podcast that has X amount of subscribers. Now we have another business that's been bringing in thousands of dollars on a fucking weekend, and other things that we have in the pipeline as well. All because we started, all because we had conversations, all because we were willing to communicate these things and not say, hey, that's too crazy. I don't want to try that. No, we said, okay, sounds kind of crazy, but fuck it. Let's try it. What's the worst that could happen?
You went on an interesting route, and I'm going to have to follow suit. Who cares what other people think? And you might say, Jose, that has nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with this, because I guarantee 90% of you sitting there watching this podcast will not take the actions necessary in order to pursue your dreams and to fulfill your destiny as the highest version and best version of yourself that you could possibly be, all because you're afraid of somebody's judgment. It could be your own judgment. It could be your mother's judgment. It could be your father's judgment. It could be your ex-girlfriend's judgment. It could be your classmates from high school. It could be the judgment of your goddamn neighbor. But you're too much of a scaredy cat to step out into the abyss. Not just look into it, but to step into it and fall, not knowing where the bottom is. Not knowing if there even is a bottom. Why do you care what other people think of you? You are the sole proprietor of you, your first name, your last name, and your own legacy. Nobody else is going to build the things for you, and you are the reason why you succeed or why you fail. Who cares about what some bitch says about you? Oh, you're never going to amount to anything. Who cares about some bullshit that an old coach said to you while you were playing sports? Who cares about the shit that some bully said to you? Who cares whatever the fuck anybody thinks? If you cannot disassociate from other people's opinions, you will fail. And you will fail miserably. I don't have to explain to you why you're depressed. You know why you're depressed. Because you're a bitch. We've all been there. If you say, I can say that because I've been there. I know Austin's laughing his ass off right now. But in reality, your body's telling you you need to do something. You feel these depressive and anxious emotions because there's actions that need to be taken, plans that need to be made, and conversations that need to be had. But since you won't take the time to slow down and think about it, because it's painful to think about it, it's painful to plan, you start thinking about all the consequences and how you might fail and how other people might look at you, and you start looking at this, boom, 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 and you give up. I'm afraid. This bed is comfortable. This woman's beautiful. I'm going to get in a relationship and marry her. I'm in love, Dad. Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to marry her. Why? You want to go on a boat with other people at a party? For what? You want to go to a run club to associate with other people? For what? How about we talk about the Mayfiend Mastermind? How about y'all pull up to an invite-only event for networking where every individual in the building, on the rooftop of a multi-million-dollar complex was hand selected by Austin and myself, and you go in there knowing that you will leave expanding your network and planning your next moves with other people to make millions of dollars. That's a fucking move, not sitting there and doing some stupid shit like going to happy hour to network. You think that's a plan? You think that's slowing down? I guarantee you, if Austin and I partook in all the other things that other people do, bro, we'd be nowhere near the men we are today. Not even 5%. Why? Because when we slowed down and strategized, we didn't slow down and strategize with small-minded people. We met with our mentors. We smoked cigars with multimillionaires. We smoked cigars with people who we never met, who we didn't even know what they did, but just being in that environment piqued their curiosity and brought them towards us. It was that simple. It really is that simple. You slow the fuck down, you find the right people, and you talk, and you ask, and you listen, and you humble your arrogant self, and you say, maybe I'm not a genius. Maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was, but I can get better. And they know how I can get better. So I should listen to them. It's not hard. Slow down. Put yourself in the right rooms. Stop talking to lame people. And if you want to learn how to do something, find someone who's done it. And if you say, I can't find them, look harder. Go work at a country club. Go work at a golf club. You don't have to be on their level to meet them. If you're below them, they're more than happy to teach you. And when I say them, I'm talking about high network and high net worth individuals who have succeeded because they know exactly what it's like to be in your shoes. And they're more than willing to help anybody who's willing to listen.
And I want to end with this. The last two stanzas of Invictus. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. So, I don't care what the fuck excuse that you have. What thing that you're going through, of course, I sympathize with you. But it's an excuse still. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're encountering, whatever punishments that you have to fucking go through to get to where you want to go. All right? Time to fucking hit the road, saddle up, and say fuck it. If you want a certain life, if you want to accomplish certain things, only you can get that shit for yourself. Now, of course, other people may be able to help you out here and there. Cool. But you have to be the one to set the foundation. You have to be the one to put in the work. You have to be the one to make those connections that can initiate other connections. You have to hit the ground running. You're going to have to do the work. If that starts with the conversation, if that starts with you getting another job, if that starts with you starting that business, it all starts with you making a choice. So if you're not living the life that you want to right now, it's on you, nobody else. You're the master of your fate. How shit turns out in life, if you're successful, I don't give a fuck what excuses you have. It's not because of them, it's because of you for letting it affect you that much to where you decided to stop. You decided to stop. That thing didn't make you stop. All right? You're a unstoppable force when you really put your mind to it. That's what all of us are. However, we start to think, hey, maybe I've encountered an immovable object, but it wasn't an immovable object. You just thought it was. You let it be. You propped it up to be. It's not. You're an unstoppable force that can only be inhibited by yourself. And that's what most of us do. We don't realize that we're an unstoppable force, but we are. And when life hits us, when life tries to slow us down, keep that same fucking mentality. Plow through the shit. Get through the shit. And you'll be surprised the shit that you come out of. Just like we have come out of the worst of the fucking worst. And we're still fighting. Why? Because we're an unstoppable force. All right? So, again, master of my fate, captain of my soul. AM Club Podcast.
Signing out.
Mic check. The AM Club Podcast.